What is up, YouTube? Welcome back to Stacks by the Numbers, and today is Thursday, right? Yep, Thursday. And we had a company that we've been tracking for quite some time. We watched it go from 3, 4 and change, all the way down to sub 2. I consistently did updates along the way, saying that in my opinion, this was basically going to be a slow grower over time. More and more contracts were going to come in. The necessity of voice AI, I mean, we know how helpful it could be for a lot of these companies. And of course, they were talking about the fact that they can implement it across multiple different sectors, right? We got the restaurant business with the Sync 3 acquisition now. They're like the largest voice AI in the restaurant industry, and automobiles now we're getting into. So people talking about AI healthcare, they're going to be a necessity, probably going to possibly need SoundHound AI. So this is one we've looked at for a while, and I'm very happy for a lot of you shareholders here. So SoundHound AI, again, voice AI company, if you're not familiar with it, SOUN, listed here on the NASDAQ. Stock was maintaining its value, even going back. If we look from last earnings report, we can see the company actually missed on the top and bottom line. Revenue did get above 17 million and came in slightly shy by about 600,000. And we can see we immediately had the sell-off back down to sub 5. Then we rallied back up to 10. And then you can see we steadily dropped and declined. But you can see this was after hours. Actually, let me turn this off. And you can see that, yeah, we came down basically almost to my trend line here, and we hit a low of about 350. And that was inevitably the low of the low, apparently, over this 3-month cycle here since last earnings. And then we bounced and have been rallying since then. But SOUN comes out with pretty decent numbers here. And if we look, we can see they were expecting a loss of about 9.2 cents a share. Company posted a loss of 7 cents a share, beating by almost 24%. And the revenue, in my opinion, this is what I keep talking about when I speak about these smaller cap, state of infancy, just starting to get up and running companies. And that's the difference between something like a SoundHound and something like a STEM Inc. or something like an Origin Materials, which we recently looked at, right? Recently, something like Origin, the revenue started to come in above estimates. Now the stock's gaining some steam again. Before that, they were missing, so they were trending downward. SoundHound kept kind of forecasting bigger and better things. That's why I feel like even though they did take it to north of 10 and then drop it back down to 350 over about like 6 weeks or whatever it took, I think that it didn't completely crap out and go all the way back down to like that gap fill we were discussing at 242, I believe, and maybe even potentially back to like $2 even, that kind of psychological starting point level before we took off kind of. But I feel like it maintained that value because people still saw the future growth and the future demand for their service. And what we see here is the revenue comes in very nicely, 11.594 million, estimates of about 10.1 million. So they come in and beat those revenue estimates by about 1.5 million, almost 15% above expectations. But it seems like it's the backlog and the actual demand for what they're bringing to the table. That is what I think kind of pushed them into this second level here. And I know everyone's going to say, well, it's when the conference call started. No, I understand. But it's the backlog, the growing backlog, the growing demand, but more importantly, it's the quote unquote inevitable necessity. That's what I think is the real value here. And I love going on StockTwits. We can look at some of the things people are saying on StockTwits, but I just love what people say, because I actually saw one person who brought up the revenue and then did a revenue to market cap comparison like we like to do on this channel, stating that it shouldn't be this high. The market cap is overvalued. And I actually don't have an account on StockTwits, but I swear I was about to make an account just to reply to that person and just have them try to explain NVIDIA to me then, right? Because we speak about these things all the time. And it just makes me laugh that, something like NVIDIA, they probably completely support and think it should continue to go higher. But something like SoundHound, they can't wrap their head around the value here. And again, even going into these earnings, we were talking about only about $1.5 billion market cap. Now we're up 11, 12, 13%. So the market cap's going to come out. It's going to be like 165, 17 billion for a company that's forecasting consistent growth and demand and has been beating earnings estimates more times than not, and had an institution like SoftBank take a 9% stake in the stock, and also they have an investment from Nvidia, and a lot of people are speculating that they've recently been working with Nvidia when they speak about this AI chip company that they're working with, right? Yet to be disclosed. So that's what I mean. You look at all those positives lining up, and you're telling me that's not worth, 1.5, 2 billion? Of course it is, in my opinion, anyway. Of course it is. That we speak about small up and coming companies that aren't even generating revenue yet, and I say, in my opinion, you can probably see like a max value of at least maybe like high 100,000, high 100 millions to potentially 1 billion. Right? That's why you'll see like a lot of these like startup biotech stocks like try to maintain like that 700 million market cap, that 1.1 billion market cap. Because if people see the future demand and growth that's coming, they can basically potentially say, yeah, that's at least like a $700 million, that's at least $1 billion stock. Like, you understand? But anyway, going off on a tangent. But we have Q1 report ahead of guidance. Slight increase to the low end of its fiscal year guidance range. That, of course, helps the pump right now as well. Voice AI, 568. That was the high it hit. Yep. Company reported revenue 11.6, up 73% year over year. SOUN forecast revenue in the range of 65 to 77 million, raising the low end of its 63 to 77 million target issued in late February. So I believe the estimate for the year right now is like 69. So 65 to 77. So I think it's like 69. So that's technically at the lower end of the range. So again, they're probably not wanting to get ahead of themselves and potentially mislead shareholders. But in my opinion, based on this, I would probably say the company has a good chance in the current moment to beat that fiscal year revenue number. And they're probably going to post that, probably, I'd say at least like 70, 71 million for the fiscal year. But let's see here. Yep. 73% year over year. Little lighter than expected loss. SoundHound said its cumulative subscriptions and bookings backlog customer metric totaled 682 million and was up by approximately 80% on a year-over-year basis. Okay, so kind of similar to what we saw with the massive increase in backlog of STEM Inc., if you recall. The only difference is this company, SoundHound, apparently actually knows how to run their business, and they're actually generating revenue and beating estimates. Company ended the quarter with cash balance of 226 million. We spoke about this in the Discord actually the other day, because this is the result you see sometimes with the rise that we saw in interest rates, right? A lot of the companies that are doing well or are at least maintaining their value and not having big swings from quarter to quarter are tech stocks that have high profit margins, that have a decent amount of cash on hand, and of course the direct finance companies that are benefiting, like we speak about stocks like Visa and a lot of the insurance stocks. But so right now, a couple of $100 million in cash, definitely not a bad thing, right? Definitely not a bad thing. And who knows? They can potentially use it for future acquisitions. Who knows? Our first quarter quote sets the tone for 2024 as another year of strong growth for SoundHound. Voice AI is fast becoming a must-have tool for customer service, and that's reflected in the demand we're seeing for subscriptions. For full year, 65 to 77 million versus estimates of 69.5 million, we'll call it, for 2024. So that's why I feel like, technically mid-range would be 71 million. So that's why I think they're probably right now, in the current state, in my opinion, I think they're probably going to post 70, 71 million for the year. They're going to beat that estimate. Now, I can appreciate the fact if you say, hey, listen, it's pumping too much, 1.6 billion market cap now, the company's only going to make 70 million for the year. I completely appreciate that. But again, this is a company that kind of checks all the boxes across the board. If you look at potential future growth and what stocks could have the potential to be taken to that overvalued level, SoundHound technically checks all the boxes. Again, we just went over it. So, SoftBank recently took 9% stake. The company's beating earnings more time than not. Even though they're operating at a loss, they consistently post more narrow loss, except for that one last quarter, of course. But again, that even though they missed, that was still a decent quarter in my eyes, because again, estimates on the revenue side jumped up from like 12 million up to like 17.5 million, and the company posted like 17.1 million or something like that. So at least they came close, right? But then they forecasted more growth moving forward over the next quarter and throughout this year now, 2024, 3 months ago. So that, AI stock, right? That's what I mean. All the other AI stocks could be pumped, but not SoundHound, right? So it's an AI stock, it's a tech stock. They have a couple of 100 million cash on hand. They basically consistently keep slightly raising their guidance. Nvidia's got the that's what I mean. We could run down the list. So in my opinion, the way I always speak in a more realistic tone about these stocks, like, I'm not saying the stock can't go lower and has to hold this value. That's not what I'm saying. If the markets do begin like a 10% sell-off, 10% correction, like we always speak about, in my opinion, inevitably coming. But if that does begin, let's just say tomorrow, SoundHound absolutely will drop down back to where it started. That is honestly not even a doubt in my mind. That's why I said, even the last update, I said, in my opinion, we may see that gap fill. So, it can't really catch you off guard. But again, overall, this is a stock that right now, in its moment, is currently checking all the boxes needed to be overvalued to begin with. That's basically the point I was saying. CFO noted that the company's business momentum continues to accelerate, growing pipeline across all businesses, right? We spoke about this. We're in the restaurant business. We're in the auto industry. We're going to get into healthcare. Who knows? Who knows? Revenue beat, adjusted loss, non-adjusted loss, 12 cents. Sees fiscal year, raises fiscal year revenue outlook. Bada bing, bada boom. Right now, in my opinion, kind of looks like this whole chart is forming a bull flag right here, in my opinion, but we'll see. But I know that a lot of people may have felt it was overvalued, so they were expecting a big drop, like back down to sub 4 after these earnings came out, and the company obviously beats earnings, and it's up 11% right now. So I don't know. Of course, anything can change overnight, and we've seen situations where we've been up after hours and then we're down pre-market. But SoundHound looks like it ran up again 567, 568, but it looks like you can see right here I have this trend line at about 549, and you can see we broke up above it, came back, and then retested right on that mark and rejected and started to channel down. So it actually may be preparing to pop up and try to retest that trend line right now, but looks like we can potentially see about 5.5. And again, let me just show you this trend line. This is the top purple trend line. Yes, so this was connecting the older original. I think this is like when we first started looking at the stock. It was like right around here, because I remember I have these lines I pointed out, potential pop up. But this top is February 8th, 23 to June 29th, 2023. So connecting both those tops when the stock was up at like $5. Yeah, see here, the high, top left of the screen, the O, the H, the L, the C, the open, the high, the low, the close. You can see the high 497, and then I connected it to that next high it hit at 511. And I just kind of extended that line across, and you can see how the stock retested, broke below that line, and then got back above it, right? And then on the way down, look, you can see dropped right to the line to retest it. Then we had a bounce, then we retested, broke below it, tried to get above it, tried to test it again, rejected, right? And now we started to come back up to it, got close, and then pulled back to the moving average. That's what it looks like anyway. But in my opinion, this could obviously be viewed as a nice key level here, about 549, 550. My apologies if it's off by a cent or two, on your screen, but I'm sure we can still see the trend line together. But overall, SoundHound, I mean, this is what I was talking about when the stock was down at like 220 and then it dipped to like 190. People are asking me, oh, should I hold? What do you think? Like, is the hype over? Blah, blah, blah. Like, you got to give these puppies a chance to percolate sometimes, And then before you knew it, obviously, even I said this was a little more than we were expecting. I thought maybe like 6, 7. The stock ended up going to north of 10, right? Sometimes you just don't know exactly where it's going to go. And then at that point, people were looking for what, like 16, 18, I think, or something like that. And the stock reversed and dropped back down to 3.5. So we're never always going to be right. We're never always going to be wrong. But this is why if you can potentially try to really look beyond the current value, the current state, and you can see that growth. You can see what could potentially be coming. This is why I say in these dull months here, you think it should be up, but it's down. You know, it gets upgraded, but it drops 5%. None of it makes sense. Just like I showed you with SMCI, with that 5-year consolidation period. When you're in the doldrums, but you still see that value, in my opinion, you should be accumulating shares and building a position. And then one day when you least expect it, boom. Boom. And all you're going to say in that moment is, I knew it. Instead of, getting bored with it, losing faith in it. Oh, yeah, it's not moving. I'm going to go buy some calls on ABC or whatever. And then, boom. Oh, I can't believe it. I had it. I just sold it. I knew it was a buy down here at 2. Now it's at 7. I can't believe it. We know what we know, right? And that's kind of, unfortunately, I know, not to bring up a negative, but that's kind of what I saw with STEM Inc. Because it really did seem like there was value there, in my opinion. But unfortunately, they just weren't able to deliver. And it's just miss after miss after miss. Underwhelming, disappointing numbers. And, that's a stock now where, as I said again, maybe 1 to 2 quarters. And then the stock might be done. So you're literally seeing like the 2 forks in the road here, right? We had 2 small cap speculative companies. Technically, that's what they are. And, on the left hand, we had STEM Inc. And on the right hand, we had SOUN. And, this is how the winners react. But MACD came down, was trending downward here in April, obviously crossed to the upside going into May. We've been trending upward since then, and we can see now where's the stock here, 534 now, up, on its way up potentially. And you can see the 50-day moving average is here at 544, which is another reason why, again, I know this trend line right about 549 on my screen, so we could potentially kind of bounce around here in the 540s if we hold this level. What is this fib here? 537, okay. But yeah, 544 could potentially be the next mark. I mean, technically the company did just beat earnings. They did just raise guidance. So unless the markets really start to pull back, then, chances are STEM will probably get up and be able to hold 5, at least for the immediate short term. We can see MACD cross to the downside about mid-April, and, we should probably, again, begin to bottom out and curl back to the upside. That would help. We could even potentially run it back up here to this top Bollinger Band on the weekly here, 785, right? It is possible. It is possible. RSI basically middle of the road here, a touch below 55. And even on the daily now, RSI sitting here middle of the road at about 51. So obviously, it's going to be higher tomorrow, and we had big volume come in here, over 38 million shares right now. Average volume over the last 30 days, about 28 million. So people are jumping in now, looking at this raised guidance. They're looking at the increase in backlog, and they want a piece of it. They want a piece of it. But I love looking at StockTwits because, of course, we know that, this is where the true financial analysts are. And just some of the stuff people say, man, it's funny. It is funny. Constantly tagging each other, talking about who got it right, who got it wrong. I saw one guy saying, anyone who's short on this, I'm blocking them. It's bad for your soul to keep the negativity. It's just some funny stuff, man. And, I appreciate, you may be emotionally tied to this position, but, in my opinion, just relax. Over 20% short interest. If that is accurate, then yes, we could really start seeing some movement tomorrow if shorts are forced to cover here. Calls over, begin to pump. We love our rocket ships also. I would say about 80% of stock twit posts are just people posting bullish with rocket ships. That's why I love it, though. That's why I love it. And again, some people might say, wow, you're looking at stock twits like you really don't know your ass from your elbow. What are you even looking on there for? You never know where pertinent information, an update, a piece of news, something that everyone forgot about 18 months ago that someone's bringing light on. You never know where a different viewpoint may come from. And that's what I always say also. You always have to keep your mind open. And, reminds me of something like Palantir, which of course I got incorrect. But again, I was like the only person who was saying it's overvalued, it should stay down, it shouldn't explode. And the stock ended up exploding, of course. But the point is, you can't always stay in that, one track mind, that one frame of thinking. You always have to look at all different viewpoints, all different possibilities. And I know that's a saying that people speak about when they speak about wealthy people and successful men and women, right? Well, what's like one of their main rules? They always read, they always try to continue to learn. The one thing they know for sure is that they don't know everything. So that's why sometimes it pays to look at things a little abstractly, to swim against the stream. Everyone else is going this way. Maybe it's time to go this way. So again, not necessarily that you should act on it, but just keep your mind open. That's basically my point. Keep your mind open. But yeah, SoundHound AI, I don't know. I just spoke for like 30 minutes when I didn't really need to. But SoundHound AI, SOUN, another good beat in the books. Nice beats on the top and bottom line. Revenue looks strong. Guidance increased. Stock up 12%. And in my opinion, I still say it's a winner. And we could, of course, deal with short-term volatility over the next 3, 4, 7 quarters. Who knows? But over the longer term, I still stand by my personal analysis in saying that this will probably, if they keep doing what they're doing, of course, this will more than likely become a $20, $25 stock easily. Easily. Because again, we're talking about, only like a $5 billion market cap at that point. So I'm going to end it there. But once again, this is Stocks by the Numbers. I want to thank you guys for stopping by. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, drop it down in the comments section. I'm usually very quick to reply. Thumbs up algorithm helps me get more eyes on the channel. And of course, subscribe to the channel. That is our handshake agreement. That is how you help me help you. But more importantly, moving forward, like I always say, I understand that markets are rocky and volatile and very uncertain. So I want to wish all of you success. I hope everyone makes a couple of dollars. Thanks for stopping by. Take it easy.